Hello, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin, and I'm the author of Heal Yourself, A Return to Wholeness, the Integration of Mind, Body, Soul, and Spirit. I'm also the author of Enlightened Medicine, Your Power to Get Well Now, an integrative approach to healing the 7 deadly lifestyle diseases. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do tarot readings and coaching, 30, 60, and 90-minute readings, twin flame romance, general readings, life path and purpose. You can book that on my website, michellefondinauthor.com. Welcome to my series on Heal Yourself, A Return to Wholeness. This series is based on the contents in this book. And I believe this is the 3rd or 4th video. I can't quite remember. But there is a series playlist that I will post right here so that you can check out the other videos in this playlist. Today's video is why is wholeness important for lightworkers? So I am imagining if you are attracted to these type of videos, it's because you are a light worker. Now, what is a light worker? A light worker is someone brought to earth to be able to bring God's holy light, whatever name you have for God, but God's holy light to earth and to spread it around and to do goodwill on the planet. Now, you may only be barely awakened to the fact that you're a light worker, or maybe you've known you're a light worker for years or decades, or maybe you came to the planet and already knew that you had a special role in bringing light to the planet. Unfortunately, for most light workers, they come to the planet with a whole host of wounding. And I believe the reason why this happens is because in order to help heal the planet, in order to help heal others, you must first know what it's like to suffer. And it's in knowing that suffering and having the experiential knowledge of that suffering that you're able to then have compassion and empathy to help heal others and heal the planet. But that brings us back to our topic. Why is it so important that light workers understand wholeness within and understand the concept of why they must reach wholeness? Now, wholeness is different than wellness. I need you to understand that. Wellness is a state of being, right? It's a state of well-being. Some people, especially in the modern world, would consider wellness to be if you're physically healthy or mentally healthy or both. Wholeness is very different. Wholeness is really the integration of body, mind, soul, and spirit. It is the integration of every single part of you, every single aspect of you that has been subdivided because you are living on this physical plane. So, what I like to equate to wholeness is congruence. So when you are congruent, then you are living in accordance to wholeness. When you are incongruent, you are going against what you are and you are keeping parts of yourself well divided. For example, if you are a health coach and you teach people about physical wellness, the physical body, whether you are a personal trainer, or a fitness coach, or an instructor, like a yoga instructor, or you're teaching people how to lose weight or eat healthier. And then at night, you are binge eating potato chips, that would be an incongruence because what you're doing in your daily work, in your daily life, how you are speaking to people is incongruent with how you are acting on a day-to-day basis, okay? For example, if you are a psychotherapist and you are helping other people with their mental health and you're trying to help them get healthy mentally, but every night you're finishing off a bottle of wine because you can't stand the emotional pain of maybe hearing your clients' stories, or you can't stand your own emotional pain, That's an incongruence. Let me give you a story of a spiritual incongruence. It was about 2 years ago. It was kind of in the midst of the pandemic. I went to a sound bath meditation, and it's something I found through Meetup, and it was on the beach because, of course, we really couldn't do indoor activities at the time, or maybe that was just starting. So I found this sound bath meditation through Meetup, and I went to it. And when I arrived, there were like 3 or 4 women leading it. There was maybe 1 gentleman, but mostly women were leading it. And they were all dressed in white, as if they were spiritual beings. But they were posing in various poses for their Instagram posts. And that's what they were doing kind of like the entire time until the sound bath started. And then even during the sound bath, as they were going around and supposedly healing people, they were like talking amongst them. And so I felt, having been to other sound bath meditations, that this was a spiritual incongruence, because someone who is leading the way towards spirituality isn't so self-absorbed with their own vanity, in the sense that when they are teaching something spiritual, that they're not posing for Instagram and making sure they have the perfect profile for their Instagram feed. And I felt that this was very incongruent. It didn't mesh with the message that was trying to come through. So when you feel that any part of your life is incongruent with any other part of your life, then you are not living in wholeness. When all of the parts are fully integrated and they are working with each other at all times, or most of the time at least, then you are moving toward attaining wholeness. Now, wholeness is not a permanent state. It's a flux, right? You are constantly in fluctuation because everything is constantly moving and changing. And so you too are constantly moving and changing. So you might be in perfect balance or perfect wholeness one day, and then the next day you're thrown completely off. But the idea is to reintegrate yourself. The idea is to constantly move toward wholeness, even if it's not a state of perfection or a state of permanence. Why, again, this goes back to why is this important for light workers? The reason why it is of the utmost importance for light workers is because if you are to heal others under any capacity, if you're to heal others, you need to come from a place of wholeness and total integration in yourself, so that you are coming at the subject, the client, or the person. It doesn't have to be a client, but you're coming toward the subject with purity. And if you're not coming toward them with purity because you have not healed yourself, then you might be attributing some of your personal garbage onto the other person or client or family member or friend or whomever it may be. And I see this a lot with certain people who say they are healers, and yet they have not worked through their ego, their wounding, and they attribute their traits onto their clients. And someone who is a healer must never do that, because you create more damage and wounding for the other person when you do that. And so when you are a healer, you need to have your ego pretty much removed from the scene, as well as your wounds. When we speak to others, when we heal others, when we are in community with others, and we are spreading our light outward, it needs to come from a place of purity. Now, again, I am fully aware that humans are imperfect. We are imperfect. There's never going to be a perfect human that is a light worker or healer, if you will. And so we are trying to do the best that we can at all times. But if you know this, then it's your responsibility as a light worker to refrain from counseling, healing, doing work with others if you've got some real gaping wounds and a lot of incongruence going on in your life. For example, if you know for a fact that you have to smoke marijuana or cannabis or weed, or I don't know what it's called anymore, if you have to do that every day just to get by, or every other day just to get by, or on the weekends just to get by, then you're not in a wholeness place. You're not in a place of wholeness. And it's better to back up and work on yourself and your self-healing versus trying to help others, trying to heal others, because that's a clear signal that you're not in a state of wholeness. Okay? So there are many millions of examples that I could give, but it's almost dangerous for light workers to try to spread their light when they are still so incongruent within themselves. Now, it doesn't mean you don't try, right? So if, for example, if you are on a path to healing and this has been a struggle for you, whether you're dealing with childhood wounds, an addiction, deep emotional trauma from an event that happened, and you are actively working through your healing with a therapist, with a coach, with a doctor, someone that can help you, and you're doing this as a continual part of your work, that is vastly different than somebody who has wounding, has bad habits, has addictions, and they are still trying to help others while not working through their stuff. And so the wholeness piece is just something that is so incredibly important for light workers because you have so much power. And that's the last thing I'm going to speak about is that light workers, I don't think light workers realize how much power and influence they have on earth. And they don't realize how much power and influence they have on others. So if you were to really realize as a light worker how much power you hold, you would treat it very, very carefully. And you would be a lot more discerning when it comes to using your light work to help others if you haven't yet integrated those pieces of yourself to return to the state of wholeness. And then in mindfulness, you will recognize, oh, this is a period of my life where I am not in wholeness, I'm not in wellness, leading to wholeness, and I'm feeling incongruent. And so maybe it's time for me to back away from my healing work for now in order to first return to wholeness, recognize that place within me. And when I am there, then I can go back to helping others, right? Because the desire to help for light workers is always there. The desire to help is inherent in a part of who you are as a light worker. It's just there. But we must do this responsibly. We must do this with discernment. And we must do this with total self-awareness. Again, not aiming for perfection, but aiming for that place of wholeness within us and aiming for working through what we have in our lives, whether that's relationships, our emotional self, our physical self, our mental self, our thought patterns that are not congruent with each other, and just working through that on a constant basis. Now, some days might be totally easier than others. Some periods of life might be 10 times easier than others. But if, for example, I'll just give you this last example to close out. But for example, if you're a Reiki healer, and you're aiming to channel Reiki energy through your hands to help heal someone, if you have so much muddled garbage inside of you because you are worrying about things, you drank last night, you took drugs last night, and then today you're trying to heal someone through your hands, think of all that corrosion that is coming through to your client, to your person that you're trying to heal. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're not gonna be able to give it your best and give that person of the highest light and love. There's no way you can because the channel is dirty, right? So I hope this was helpful in helping you really understand why I have such great emphasis on healing and wholeness on this channel and in most of my books. Most of my books have to do with healing. And so if you're interested, do support this channel by picking up one of my 10 published books. Subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. If you enjoyed this content, please give the video a thumbs up, share with other people who could use this, other light workers, right? And thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.